And of course, over the past 48 hours, if you didn't know what Signal was, you probably now do, with the scandal, the drama that's unfolded over the past few days with this quote unquote leaking of a chat for Yemen war plans, as the liberal media has liked to play it, as war plans. So can you make sense of this? When you saw this story break, what were you looking at to say, yeah, this is real, or this is fake, this seems like it's a psyop, or this is just a big mistake here? What do you make of this Signal leak from Pete Hegseth, Mike Waltz, et cetera, to this Atlantic reporter, Jeffrey Goldberg?
Yeah, a few things. So first on, the Israeli link to being able to potentially penetrate Signal, I have no doubt about that at all. It would be the same with U.S. intelligence. I fully believe that Signal has been a U.S. military and intelligence front since virtually the day it was born. If you read, I think it was Yasha Levine's Surveillance Valley, has a whole section on the role of Signal in allowing foreign dissident groups to have secure communications when they're plotting to overthrow their governments with CIA support. This was something that's been championed by the U.S. intelligence community. If you remember, Catherine Marr was on the board of the Signal Foundation. Catherine Marr from the Atlantic Council, Catherine Marr, who was very active in the Arab Spring, Catherine Marr from the Council on Foreign Relations, Catherine Marr, who would then become the head of the Wikimedia Foundation, the governing board over Wikipedia, and all the scandals that broke with her promoting censorship under the rubric of promoting democracy. But the fact is that's a spook through and through with that resume, and she's on the board of Signal. You already have this sort of smoke billowing out of it from U.S. intelligence promotion of it. We wouldn't promote something to CIA-backed dissident groups unless we had back-end access to the messages being sent by CIA-backed dissident groups. That's just counterintelligence 101. Now, right. I do believe that in order to maintain that false front that Signal is secure, that the FBI and Justice Department do not pierce Signal messages in domestic prosecutions, which is to say that we saw this, for example, during January 6th. Whenever they use Signal messages, it would require them to have a confidential informant who actually went to an FBI field office and gave them their phone, and then they would download it off the phone. So I think that the reason Signal looks safe here in the U.S., if you're using it, is because if the FBI shows that it can breach Signal's encryption, then that becomes international news that, if basic law enforcement can, then that the NSA and CIA can. So that everybody else around the world is not able to. But I do believe that it's basically cracked and has been since the day it was born. But that there's still potential reasons to think that that's at the CIA, NSA level rather than at the FBI and local law enforcement level.
What about the question, I guess, really about, well, is this a psyop? Did they actually leak this to Jeffrey Goldberg, or is this like a script? I mean, it seems, it smells fishy right from the beginning, but I want to hear your take.
I mean, I can't help but laugh at it. It's hard to know what to think of it, because I could see it going any direction. I could see it being a lapse. I could see it being a mole. I could see it being a prank. I think I saw someone's take on it on X earlier, that this would be like Jake Sullivan and Hillary Clinton adding Tucker Carlson to, a sensitive Signal chat about, plans to topple to sidetrack the Brexit movement in the UK or something. It's just, it is a pretty astounding event, but I also don't know, what sort of damage actually resulted from it. There's, in the sense that my understanding is Goldberg sort of published it once the bombing actually happened. I don't know if, I just don't know. I could see it going any way. The Signal messages looked fairly anodyne, like a debate. I've seen people hypothesize that, things that reportedly J.D. Vance said in those signal chat messages were intended to convey a message to Europe, and that maybe there was a hope that Jeffrey Goldberg would print that and sort of communicate the message. But this is one of the strange mysteries of Trump world where, I mean, Trump himself has had these strange situations. If folks remember the John Barron episode where he would leak information about himself to the press while pretending to be someone else and saying that he is a tip about Donald Trump, but he's calling in with his own voice. And so, I've learned at this point not to question the mysterious ways of this unless there's something that, solid to chew on.
Yeah, I mean, it was just strange. 24 hours before a congressional hearing on intelligence with Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel and all of them sitting there. Like, it just seemed very, very strange, the timing of all of this.
Also, the tone of his article bothers me a lot because it's like, oops, I watched 12 civilians got bombed. I guess maybe I should have said, like, he doesn't have any contrition over whether he maybe could have published this and saved lives. It's just like, yeah, I watched it happen. Isn't that cool? I got a front row seat.
I'm just lurking here. Yeah, it just all smelled like it.
It's tough on that front, I should say, because I do have sympathy for both sides of the argument in that case, even though I would consider myself very much at odds in general with the Atlantic and Jeffrey Goldberg. And I think that it's just a hodgepodge of rogue intelligence ops there with Ann Applebaum and David Frum in that network. But the fact is we have a very unclear state of the case law when it comes to publishing these sorts of things. We saw, Edward Snowden, obviously, the high profile, attacks on him. I believe John Kiriakou, the former CIA agent, was prosecuted over. He made a public post about this, that he had been arrested for, for publishing information like this. And at the same time, if the CIA leaks it anonymously, if someone at the CIA leaks things anonymously to the New York Times, they can print that. And so there's a very strange situation. And this is something everything I do is open source. I try to never even put myself in a situation where I might have insider information that I need to worry about whether I might get arrested for publishing. But, the Pentagon Papers were leaked and published through that method. That was something that was heralded by the media community, and it was allowed by the Justice Department. But then, decades later, you now have the most, places like the Columbia Journalism Review and these media ethicist boards and our Justice Department itself now basically say that the Pentagon paper model is outdated and we should be prosecuting all this under the Espionage Act. So I don't envy the position of anyone who's a lurker in that group chat who sees something that they want to publish in order to save humanity, but fears that they may be prosecuted because the law is unclear in this space. I think the law is unclear in this space, and that's unfortunate.